Hello, my fellow players, and welcome to the Game Codex, the place where we demystify the magic behind the games we love. Now, I want you to use your imagination for a second. You're deep in an epic role-playing game. You fought dragons, outsmarted trolls, and finally, you've cornered the mastermind behind it all, the reclusive AI overlord known as the Archon. He turns to you, and instead of a canned, pre-written monologue that 10 million other players have already heard, he looks you dead in the eye and says something unique, something generated just for you in that moment based on your specific playstyle, the characters you've befriended, the cities you've burned or saved. He says, "You think you are a hero. You are merely a data point. A fascinating anomaly in my simulation. I have watched you. I calculated a 97.3% chance you would side with the rebels in Kaldor. But your mercy for the captured synth, that was an unexpected variable. Tell me, hero, why did you spare a machine?" That changes everything, doesn't it? That single dynamic conversation would transform the game from a pre-scripted story into a personal dialogue. It sounds like a dream, or maybe a threat, depending on your perspective. But this isn't a distant fantasy anymore. The tools to make this a reality are being built right now. Welcome to the main stage of the next gaming revolution, artificial intelligence. Forget the scary headlines and the hype trains. Today, we're not just talking about an AI that can write a sonnet about a sandwich. We're talking about AI as a code developer, an assistant, a tireless intern that can generate art, write code, build worlds, and even bring characters to life in ways we've only dreamed of. Over the next half hour, we're going to move beyond the buzzwords and dive into the practical, the profound, and the profoundly complicated ways AI is radically reshaping game development. We'll explore the incredible tools, wrestle with the tough ethical questions, and we'll answer the biggest one of all. In a world of intelligent machines, what is the future role of the human creator? This is the Game Codex, and we're cracking the code on the biggest shift in gaming since the jump to 3D. Strap in. So, when most people hear AI, their minds immediately go to ChatGPT, or maybe those deepfake videos of a celebrity saying something ridiculous. It's all about language, right? You type a prompt and it talks back. It's impressive, it's fun to play with. But for a game developer staring at a blank screen, that's often where the conversation stops. It feels abstract, a party trick, not a power tool. But the real, practical AI revolution in game dev is happening in the background. It's in the trenches. We need to stop thinking of AI as just a conversational buddy and start thinking of it as a multi-tool. It's the Swiss Army knife that can help you with 100 different, specific, and often tedious jobs. Let me give you a concrete example. Imagine you're a solo developer and you need to create a vast forest for your game. The old way, you, the human, would have to open a 3D modeling program and painstakingly place every single tree, then every rock, then every bush. You'd have to manually vary their size and rotation so it didn't look like a copy-pasted nightmare. This process could take days, even weeks, for one environment. It's soul-crushing work. Now, enter the AI. Not a chatbot, but a tool like a procedural placement system powered by machine learning. You, the developer, don't place the trees. You teach the AI what a forest looks like. You show it examples. You set rules. Trees should be denser here, near the water. They should avoid this rocky terrain. Make clusters but leave paths. Oh, and sprinkle some fallen logs and ferns around the base of the trees. You hit generate, and in a matter of minutes, the AI builds you a breathtaking, perfectly natural-looking forest that would have taken you 100 hours. That is a practical AI tool. This extends to so many areas. Let's talk about another one, animation. For decades, if you wanted a character to climb a wall, you needed an animator to manually create that climbing motion. It was a fixed, canned animation. But now we have AI-powered procedural animation. You give the AI a character model and the basic rules of physics and biomechanics. The character learns how to move its limbs. So now, when your character goes to climb that wall, the AI dynamically generates the animation in real time based on the specific geometry of the wall. It will find handholds, adjust its grip, and push off with its feet all naturally. The same system can handle walking over uneven rubble, jumping across gaps, even recovering from a stumble. One AI system replaces thousands of manually created animations. And for the programmers in the audience, the tools are just as revolutionary. AI-powered coding assistants like GitHub Copilot are like having an expert programmer sitting next to you. You start typing a function to, say, calculate the damage of a sword based on a player's strength in the enemy's armor, and the AI suggests the complete, efficient code for it. It's not just copying from the internet, it's synthesizing code based on billions of lines it's learned from. It can spot bugs, suggest optimizations, and even write documentation. It's cutting down development time dramatically. The point is, the hype is about AI that talks. The reality, the truly game-changing part, is about AI that does. It's the AI that builds the environment, animates the character, and helps write the code that brings it all to life. It's moving from a novelty to a fundamental part of the developer's toolkit. And this is just the foundation. Once we understand that AI is this collection of specialized power tools, the rest of the picture starts to become clear. And speaking of tools that make things look beautiful, that leads us directly to our next big topic, the AI artist.
Now, let's talk about one of the most visible and controversial applications of AI, the art. For decades, the visual identity of a game was built painstakingly by hand. Every brick texture on a castle wall, every leaf on a tree, every piece of concept art that established the game's mood. All of it was a monumental human effort. For a small team, creating enough high-quality art to fill a world was often the single biggest bottleneck. It still is. But AI is fundamentally changing that workflow. Let's break it down, starting with the very beginning of a game's life, concept art. An artist no longer has to start with a completely blank canvas. Tools like Midjourney or Stable Diffusion act as the ultimate brainstorming partner. A director can say, I need a mood piece for a cyberpunk city, but it's biodynamic, with glowing fungal growths instead of neon, and it's raining. In seconds, the AI generates a dozen stunning, evocative images. This isn't about replacing the concept artist, it's about supercharging their ideation process. They can take these generated pieces, this raw visual inspiration, and refine it, remix it, and build upon it to create the final polished vision. It's like having a tireless junior artist who can generate 1,000 different shades of what if in an afternoon. Then we get into the nitty-gritty textures. This is where AI truly shines as a workhorse. Imagine you're building a massive RPG with dozens of different environments. You need unique, high-resolution textures for ancient marble, mossy cobblestone, rusty metal, dragon scales. The list is endless. Manually creating or sourcing each one is a Herculean task. AI texture generators can create perfectly tileable, high-resolution textures from a simple text prompt. Weathered oak planks with iron rivets. Boom, you have a texture. And if you don't like it, you generate 10 more variations in a minute. This frees up the human artists to focus on the hero assets, the unique crown of the king, the legendary sword, while the AI handles the endless square footage of dungeon walls and forest floors. But the real frontier, the holy grail, is 3D model generation. We're moving beyond 2D images into the creation of the objects that populate the game world itself. This is still in its early stages, but the progress is staggering. AI tools are now emerging that can take a 2D concept image and generate a basic 3D model from it. Or you can describe an object and the AI will create a 3D mesh. It might not be perfect, it might need cleanup and optimization by a human modeler, but it creates a massive head start. Instead of sculpting a simple barrel or a rock formation from scratch, an artist can now take an AI-generated base model and spend their time adding the unique details and personality that make it special. The key takeaway here is scale. AI allows a team of 5 artists to produce the volume of work that once required a team of 50. It's not about eliminating the artist, it's about amplifying their creativity and allowing them to focus their precious human talent on the parts that matter most, the parts that require a soul and a story. But this, of course, leads us directly into one of the most heated debates in the industry. If art is the soul of a game, code is its central nervous system. It's the complex, often invisible web of logic that makes everything work. And for many players, the word code might sound boring, but it's the magic that makes a character jump, a spell cast, and a world persist. It's also incredibly difficult, tedious, and prone to, well, bugs, glitches, the dreaded, this thing just doesn't work. Enter the AI pair programmer. This is arguably one of the least controversial and most readily adopted uses of AI in development. Tools like GitHub Copilot or Amazon Code Whisperer have become like a superpowered autocomplete for code. A programmer starts typing a line, and the AI suggests the rest of the function. But it's so much more than that. Let's paint a picture. A developer needs to write a function that calculates whether a player's arrow hits an enemy, taking into account the arrow's trajectory, the enemy's hitbox, and maybe even wind resistance. Instead of spending 20 minutes looking up syntax and wrestling with math, the programmer simply writes a comment describing what they want. Function to calculate arrow hit on enemy with parabolic arc and wind influence. The AI reads that plain English command and generates the complex code to do it. The human programmer then reviews it, tweaks it, and integrates it. What was a 20-minute task becomes a 2-minute collaboration. But it goes even deeper. Bug fixing. Bugs. The bane of every developer's existence. You can spend days, sometimes weeks, hunting for a single elusive bug that causes the game to crash under a very specific weird circumstance. AI debugging tools are like bringing in a bloodhound. You can feed the AI thousands of lines of code and an error log, and it can analyze the patterns, cross-reference dependencies, and often pinpoint the likely source of the bug. It can't always fix it, but telling a programmer, hey, the problem is probably in this specific function on line 347 is a massive time saver. It's like having a detective who can read through a 1,000,000-page novel in seconds and tell you exactly which word is misspelled. This doesn't replace the programmer. Far from it. It replaces the grunt work, the tedious boilerplate code, the endless debugging slog. It allows the human coder to focus on the big picture, the elegant architecture of the game's systems, the innovative gameplay mechanics, the complex AI behaviors that require true creative problem solving. The programmer becomes more of a conductor and an architect, while the AI handles the manual labor of laying every brick. And when you supercharge both your artists and your programmers, you can start to dream much, much bigger. We've all played games with procedural generation. Minecraft is the classic example. A world made of blocks assembled at random from a set of rules. It's fantastic, but let's be honest. After a while, one forest starts to look a lot like another. The biomes feel separate. The villages are repetitive. It's a brilliant solution for infinite quantity, but it often lacks a sense of curated, intelligent design. Now, imagine procedural generation after it's been to the gym and taken a bunch of smart pills. This is AI-driven procedural generation. We're not just talking about random placement anymore. We're talking about a system that understands what it's creating. Think about a game like No Man's Sky. Its initial promise was quintillions of planets, all unique. And it delivered on that, technically. But the criticism was that after visiting a dozen planets, you felt like you'd seen all the building blocks. Now, imagine if the system generating those planets used AI. Instead of just mixing and matching pre-made assets randomly, the AI could learn the principles of ecology, geology, and evolution. It could generate a planet and say, okay, this is a high-gravity world with a nitrogen-methane atmosphere. Therefore, the flora would be low to the ground with thick, sturdy stalks to resist the gravity. The fauna would likely be slow-moving and heavily armored. And because of the specific chemical composition in the soil, the color palette would lean towards purples and grays.
The AI wouldn't just place assets, it would design a believable ecosystem from the ground up. The caves on this world wouldn't be random. They'd be eroded by specific weather patterns the AI simulated. The placement of ancient ruins would follow logical patterns of a lost civilization that value water sources. This creates not just endless worlds, but endless meaningful worlds. It creates a sense of place and history that feels crafted, even though it was generated. For the player, exploration becomes truly rewarding because you're not just seeing a new combination of the same 10 tree models, you're discovering a world with its own internal logic and story, a story that even the developers are hearing for the first time. It's the ultimate tool for creating living, breathing universes that are too vast for any human team to build by hand. And who will you meet in these vast, intelligent worlds? Well, that's the next revolution. Let's talk about the people who fill these worlds, the non-player characters. For the entire history of gaming, NPCs have been, let's face it, a bit robotic. They walk the same path, they say the same 5 lines of dialogue. You can't really talk to them. You just select from a menu of pre-written options. They're set dressing with a voice box. This breaks immersion more than almost anything else. The NPC Revolution, powered by AI, is about to shatter that illusion forever. We're moving from scripted characters to simulated characters. Imagine an NPC who isn't just reciting lines, but who has a memory, opinions, and goals. You walk into a tavern and talk to the bartender. In a traditional game, he might say, "Welcome, stranger, care for a drink?" And that's it. But an AI-driven bartender, he might recognize you from your last visit a week ago. He might comment on the fancy new armor you're wearing. He might have heard a rumor about you from another traveler and bring it up. If you were rude to him last time, he might be short with you now. If you tipped him well, he might give you a useful piece of information. This is made possible by combining 2 powerful AI technologies. First, large language models, the tech behind ChatGPT, give the character the ability to generate dialogue on the fly, in a voice that's consistent with their personality. Second, a beliefs, desires, intentions architecture gives them a simulated mind. The bartender's BDI might be beliefs, money is tight, the local guards are trouble. Desires, I want to earn enough to leave this town. I want to protect my daughter. Intentions, I will overcharge out-of-towners. I will avoid talking to the guards. So when you talk to him, every conversation is dynamic. You can ask him about anything in the world, and he'll respond based on his knowledge and his personality. He's no longer a vending machine for quests. He's a virtual person. This transforms RPGs, but it also revolutionizes narrative games. The story is no longer a branching path you can map on a chart. It's an emergent personal experience shaped by every conversation you have. It makes the world feel truly, breathtakingly alive. But creating life, even artificial life, comes with a host of profound questions. We've spent this whole episode talking about the incredible potential of AI, and it is incredible, but we can't ignore the elephant in the room. In fact, it's less of an elephant and more of a Tarrasque that's just knocked down the front gate. The ethical dilemmas here are massive, and the industry is grappling with them right now. Let's start with the big one, job displacement. It's the most immediate fear. If an AI can generate a year's worth of concept art in an afternoon, what happens to the concept artists? If an AI can code a complex game system, what happens to the junior programmers? This is a real and valid concern. The nature of these jobs will change. We may see a shift from hands-on creation to a role more like an AI director or a prompt engineer, someone who curates, refines, and guides the AI's output. But will there be as many of these new jobs as there were of the old ones? We don't know. It's a period of painful and uncertain transition, much like the Industrial Revolution was for weavers and artisans. Then there's the issue of artist royalties and data sourcing. This is the legal and moral quagmire. How do these AI models learn? They are trained on massive datasets, billions of images, lines of code, and text scraped from the internet. A huge portion of this data is copyrighted material. So when an AI generates a piece of art in the style of a famous living artist, is it theft? Is it inspiration? The artist never gave permission, and they certainly don't get a royalty. The same goes for code. Is an AI that's been trained on open source code repositories creating derivative work? The legal system is scrambling to catch up, and the answers are far from clear. And finally, there's a deeper, more philosophical worry: the homogenization of creativity. If everyone is using the same AI models trained on the same data set of what's already popular, will we end up with games that all look and feel the same? Will we lose the weird, the niche, the personally idiosyncratic vision of a human creator? AI is brilliant at remixing and optimizing what already exists, but is it capable of a true, groundbreaking creative leap? That's the billion-dollar question. These aren't problems with easy answers. They require conversation, regulation, and a conscious effort from developers and players to build a future that is both innovative and fair. And speaking of innovation, let's look at a real-world example that's pulling all of this together. It's one thing to talk about these concepts in the abstract, but it's another to see them in action. And one of the most compelling real-world examples of this NPC revolution is NVIDIA's ACE, which stands for Avatar Cloud Engine. ACE isn't one single tool. It's a whole suite of AI technologies designed to be plugged directly into a game engine. It's a glimpse into the near future, and it's built on 3 key pillars. First, you have speech to text. You just talk to the NPC using your microphone like you would with a real person. The AI converts your speech into text. Second, and this is the magic, that text is fed into a language model. But this isn't a general purpose model like ChatGPT. This is a model that's been customized with the character's backstory, personality, and knowledge of the game world. So when you ask the blacksmith about the legendary sword, she responds as a blacksmith would, using her specific knowledge, not as a generic AI that might start talking about spaceships. Third, the AI's text response is then converted back into speech using text-to-speech, but with an emotionally expressive voice that matches the content of the dialogue. And as the cherry on top, the system can even drive realistic facial animation in real time, so the character's lip movements and expressions match the generated speech. Let's walk through what this looks like for a player. You walk up to a guard in a cyberpunk city. Instead of a dialogue menu, you just say into your mic, "You look tired. Is everything okay?" The guard, in real time, might sigh, look around, and say, "Long shift. The corporate patrols have doubled since the riot in the lower sectors. Makes everyone jumpy." You then ask, "What riot?" And he'll tell you about an event that you, the player, might have even caused, and he'll do it with a unique, unscripted sentence. This is the promise of ACE. It's the complete package for creating dynamic, conversational characters without the astronomical cost of manually recording thousands of lines of dialogue and animations. It makes the kind of deep interaction we saw in the intro not just possible, but practically achievable for developers. And this leads to a fascinating question. Who benefits from this technology the most? When we talk about big, scary AI tools, it's easy to imagine them being hoarded by the giant, multi-billion-dollar studios. But I would argue that the most profound impact of this revolution might actually be felt at the other end of the spectrum, by the indie developers. For years, the playing field between a solo developer in their garage and a studio like Ubisoft with 1,000 employees has been wildly uneven. How can one person possibly compete with the art, audio, and coding resources of a major corporation? AI is the great equalizer. It's the force that can level that playing field. Think about it. A single developer with a brilliant game idea can now use AI to generate a vast portfolio of concept art to solidify their vision, create thousands of unique textures, and even simple 3D models to populate their world. Use an AI coding assistant to build complex game systems without being a programming wizard. Use a tool like NVIDIA ACE to create rich, dynamic NPCs that would otherwise require a team of writers, voice actors, and animators. Suddenly, that solo developer isn't so solo anymore. They become a creative director, orchestrating a symphony of AI tools. They can focus on the heart of their game, the unique gameplay hook, the compelling story, the personal touch, while the AI handles the immense volume of asset creation that was previously impossible for a small team. We're already seeing this happen. Games are being developed by tiny teams that look and feel like they had a budget 100 times larger. This means more diverse voices, more weird and wonderful ideas, and a richer, more varied gaming landscape for all of us. The next cult classic, the next Undertale or Stardew Valley, might be made by a team of 1 or 2 people, empowered by AI. This technology doesn't just make big games bigger, it makes small dreams achievable. And that brings us to our final and most important point. After all this talk about AI generating art, code, and dialogue, it's time to answer the fundamental question. Is the human game developer becoming obsolete? Is the future a cold, sterile room where an AI just churns out games on its own? My answer is an emphatic, resounding no. AI is a tool, arguably the most powerful tool we've ever created, but a tool nonetheless. And a tool is only as good as the vision of the person wielding it. Think of it this way. The invention of the electric guitar didn't make musicians obsolete. It created entirely new genres of music. It allowed for new forms of expression, but the soul, the emotion, the music itself still came from the human. The guitar was just the tool. AI is the same. It can generate 1 million landscape paintings, but it can't decide which one perfectly captures the melancholic tone of your game's third act. It can write a functional code for a physics engine, but it can't have the creative spark to say, what if we made a game where the core mechanic is rewinding time? It can generate dialogue for a bartender, but it can't craft the overarching narrative arc of a character's redemption, with all its subtle foreshadowing and emotional payoffs. The future role of the human creator is shifting up the chain, away from the manual labor of placing every tree and writing every line of boilerplate code, and towards the roles of visionary, curator, and storyteller. The human developer will be the one asking the big what-if questions. They will be the ones guiding the AI, refining its output, and imbuing the raw materials it generates with meaning, purpose, and soul. The job title might change from texture artist to AI art director, or from scripter to systems architect. But the core of what makes game development magical, human creativity, will not only remain, it will be amplified. We are freeing our creators from the tedium so they can focus on the genius. The future isn't about humans versus machines, it's about humans with machines. And so we find ourselves at the end of our journey, standing at the precipice of a new era. We've seen how AI is so much more than a chatbot. It's a co-designer for artists, a pair programmer for coders, a world builder for designers, and an animator for characters. We've wrestled with the real and serious ethical questions that we must face together as a community. And we've seen how this technology can empower the smallest teams to create the biggest dreams. The future of game development is not a dystopia of automated factories churning out soulless products. Nor is it a utopia where AI does all the work and we just sit back and relax. The future is messy, collaborative, and profoundly human. It's a partnership. The AI provides the scale, the efficiency, the raw computational power. But we provide the heart, the soul, the story, and the spark of madness that turns a collection of systems into a work of art that can make us laugh, cry, and feel wonder. The Game Codex for the future is still being written, line by line, prompt by prompt. And the most exciting part is that we all get to be a part of writing it. Thank you so much for joining me on this adventure into the future. This is Alora for the Game Codex, signing off. Keep playing, keep wondering, and as always, stay curious.